Quite very interesting and a very straightforward answer which I would like to talk upon here. The most interesting factor is that when you talk about Google or when you talk about the internet altogether, so definitely business research method will help you to estimate the expenses. Next, we will try to control that entire situation so that the problem does not get, that the business has really come up very well. You have been able to completely decipher the knowledge. Good morning and welcome to the first session in Unit 1 in Business Research Methods, a very interesting subject and a powerful subject in terms of understanding the modern management and the research techniques. So we are going to start with the introduction today, where we're going to try to understand the nature, the scope of the business management and the research methods. So let's go further and try to understand what exactly is the business research methodology. It is a systematic and objective process of gathering, recording, analyzing data for decision making. Quite very interesting and a very straightforward answer which I would like to talk upon here. Why? It's a systematic and objective process. Now, most of the time when we have studied about business through marketing, through finance, or through HR, or through operations, we have been theoretically trying to study various processes, various topics, and we have tried to gather knowledge about it. But what has been a really interesting or a challenging question, rather I would like to say, is that are we a master of a particular topic? Are we a master who has understood the meanings completely? Are we specific, target oriented towards learning a particular topic? The answer is no. Why? Because we have only tried to understand the topic from a theoretical standpoint altogether and not from the overall perspective. Okay, so let's first try to understand what is this business research method altogether. It is a systematic and objective process of gathering, recording, and analyzing data for decision making. What we have tried to do in business is that we have tried to study different topics like HR, marketing, finance, operations, but none of these subjects we have covered in depth because we are not focused about a specific topic. We have never tried to understand what is the true meaning of a particular version or about a particular question altogether. We have never gone to the level of researching a topic again and again. So that is why in business research method, we are coming with a systematic and an objective oriented approach that can make us understand, that can make us completely go through in terms of what is the value, why are we reading it, what is the purpose behind it. So that is where business research method comes, because it analyzes the data and tells very clearly what is the need for the decision making, how we need to make it. Followed by, the research must be systematic and not haphazard. It must be objective and avoid distorting effects of personal bias. Now, when you are involved in research, let us understand this factor clearly, that the concept of research is more about being systematic, project oriented and approach oriented. It has to be something where you are trying to focus on something specific. You are data driven, you are evidence driven, you are approach driven. You are not a kind of person who's going to make an haphazard attempt of taking the research forward and trying to do something on yourself. So the entire concept of business research drives you through a particular methodology. It makes you understand that whenever I'm taking a research-oriented problem, I'm going to do it in the best known method possible. I'm going to follow a systematic process that is going to give me a result-oriented approach. So that is why business research method is a very interesting subject altogether. Now, the second thing is that the applied research aims to facilitate managerial decision making. That's very important. Why? Because Now, when you apply research to management, just try to understand the concept here. Applying research to management is something where you are trying to apply the practical knowledge to the theoretical knowledge. So when you apply that thought process, you are able to make an effective decision making. Now, for example, if you want to learn swimming, what is the most effective way of learning swimming? It cannot be standing near the swimming pool and just theoretically talking about the depth or the height or the length and breadth of the pool. You have to get into the water, you have to swim, you have to learn it by moving your hands and legs. And then only you will be able to understand the process of swimming. That's exactly what happens in management. Studying from a book, HR or marketing or finance or operations or supply chain management is fantastic, because that will just lay you up with the knowledge. It will just take you to the world of a theoretical knowledge and approach. But in reality, in the real terms altogether, will we be able to understand the practical decisions, how to take a decision, how to move it forward? That would become a very big challenge. That would become a very big question altogether. So that's why I say that applied research is needed at this point. It is very much needed, because it helps you to take on a decision factor, how to move forward, how to understand the systematic approach. Now, on the other hand, basis of pure research to test and build specific theories and concepts. Now, this is very, very important. Why? Because whenever you're talking about this pure research kind of a contract, what we are trying to build is, we are trying to build a specific approach, a specific method altogether. We want you to understand this methodology clearly. It is not going to be that easy that, you just take a research and just go forward with it, but rather you are going to build a specific methodology, test it to the last effort, and see whether you are able to get the right answer. So there is an amount of application that comes into picture, and we need to understand this application till the last level as far as possible. So that's why I always say that this is very, very important and a very interesting subject. Now, moving further, we will try to understand the nature of the business research method. The first one is clearly defined objectives. Every business should have a clear defined business objective. What I mean by saying that, when you want to do a research on a particular topic, on a particular area, you need to have a very good and well-defined objective. It should know what exactly you are looking for. So you will not be able to do research by assuming certain things, by understanding that yes, things will happen on its own. You need to start putting yourself into a clear-cut objective that will help you to understand what exactly the picture is, what exactly has happened altogether. The second thing is choosing the right methodology. These days, the most interesting factor is that when you talk about Google or when you talk about the internet altogether, data is very, very easily available to us. There is a known source of data that's already floating around. So what people tend to do in research methodology is that already there is a set of activities which is being done. I just take that method and I approach it for my problem. Well, that would not be the suggested one altogether. Why? Because the problem and the methodology are two important factors. One side, you need to understand what exactly is the problem. The other side is that you need to understand what method can be applied to solve that problem. So on both ways, when you start understanding, this is going to be a very big challenge. So one side, you need to go into the business research methodology. You need to understand where exactly which method can be applied so that things become better for us. So that is why I always say that when you go through the internet, when you go through the Google, that is very good. That secondary data is extremely good. But all that will not be exactly good for your problem. You can make use of that method. You can use it as an example, but you cannot just copy paste it altogether. So that is why in business research method, we always say, or we emphasize on the correct methodology, which is very, very important in order to arrive at the results. The next thing what we are going to speak about in the nature is the promotion of business. The objective of any good business research is to make you understand how better we can do that business, how economically we can go and increase its continuity altogether. So now we are not just talking about business as business. We are talking about business as an enhanced factor, as an improved factor altogether. So that is where one has to understand that promotion of business happens through a lot of process, lot of thinking altogether. Now, why this is needed here is that, let us say that you are looking into the balance sheet of certain business. What is that really gets you excited? Is it just about those numbers, or is it about the performance? When you talk about performance over profit, that means to say that you need to have sound system and process that can make your business appeal stronger anywhere in the world. So that is why I would always say that this is the right time. By applying those business research method, you will be able to win over that situation. You will be definitely able to get a betterment altogether. Now, covers the region in which the business operates. That is very, very important. Why? Because you are trying to understand locally first where and all, what conditions are needed, where this theory will work, where this exact factor will come into picture. It is not that since I know the business, I can apply it anywhere, I can apply this methodology everywhere, wherever I think. That is not going to work out. What is definitely going to work out for us is that we need to understand whether this method is suitable for me, whether this method is the right one for me, and whether this method will fit into this branch, this location, this area altogether. Why? Because everywhere business might not be the same way in which we run it. Culturally, ethically, morally, there are so many factors that will differ in business. So one has to understand which is the right method, the right place where I can set in my business. Moving further, we would also like to understand in this scenario that judgment of problems. Many people might look into a situation as a problem, and others might look at the same problem as a situation or as an opportunity to win. So exactly when I say about judgment of problems, that means you need to understand the local problems. You need to understand where exactly the business is facing a problem or a challenge. It is not every time that business will have a problem. It is not inherent. It is not taken for granted. You cannot presume that all businesses will start with a negative note. All businesses will end up in problem. It is not mandatory. So you need to understand through the business research that where exactly, in which environment our establishment is facing the problem. If it is facing the problem, what kind of problem is it facing? Is it because of land, labor, capital, or because of environmental issues? What is that exactly that is trending along in order to create that problem? So that is mandatory for us to understand. Flexibility. One of the most important things that we need to understand in business research is the flexibility. That means the research program should be inbuilt in such a manner that it is able to take up the problems, it is able to rebuild itself, reprogram itself in such a manner, because it would be easily able to take that new factors, adjust and bring in a new model. Now, our aim, our ambition as a researcher is that we don't want to be rigid. We don't want to sound monotonous to the business. We don't want to sound very, very fixed or a narrow approach based. We want the business to be investigated, understood and analyzed from all the perspectives, all the angles as far as possible, because then only you will be able to understand that the business has really come up very well. You have been able to completely decipher the knowledge into it. So that is why I would always say that business research method should be as flexible as possible. It should take into every single factor. It should be able to accommodate all the factors that is coming along the way, so that as the business dynamics are changing, the protocols are changing, it is able to adjust and bring in a better model. Now, the last thing that I would like to talk about in the nature is that help to determine how to produce the product. Everybody in this market is involved in terms of the word called as manufacturing. You look into every aspect, you look into every business aspects altogether. Somebody is manufacturing a car, somebody is manufacturing a mobile, somebody is manufacturing a vehicle or a big truck, whatever is that. But everybody wants to get into product. Somebody is manufacturing a cosmetic product. But how am I able to make myself better? What makes me a suited product, a preferred product in the market? That's because I have the ability to reflect my performance through product. I have the ability to perfect myself using the methods of better production. So that means the business research method will also try to concentrate the way how products can be bettered, how they can be produced yet more effective. It cannot be taken into account that we are just manufacturing a product and hundreds and thousands of customers will buy it. Customers will look into your product only when it has a unique selling proposition. Only when it has an edge, it has carved a niche for itself. And that can be done only when you have an extremely well-built production system, extremely well-built quality system that is able to enhance the product every time. So that is where business research will always try to understand how we can enhance the quality, how we can make it better day by day. And that is one of the primary objectives and nature scope of the business research method. Now, moving further, I would like to talk about the importance of this business research. The first thing is estimating expenses. Now, anybody who runs a company, the first question is cost. How much does the expense take for me to survive, to run the business? So definitely business research method will help you to estimate the expenses. Next, price determination. What is the price? How am I going to determine the price of a product? I'm always, fancied by this question, rather me and the entire world. Why is the phone being priced so high? Why is a ring being priced so high? Why is a soap, the price is so much? Because price determination is the ultimate factor that is going to drive your profit. So price determination becomes a very, very important product, and an answer to that comes through research, market research. Managing the cost. Yes, you need to manage the cost. Assist the managers in decision-making process. Managers need support day in and day out to understand how to make effective decision. They might be leaders. They might have studied. They are qualified. They have been running the business. They have experience. But making a decision needs a lot of guts, need a lot of thinking, and it needs a lot of reflection towards the management insight. So that's where it helps it. And evaluating the marketing trends, the market trends altogether. How is the market? What is the changes? What are the dynamics? How we need to adapt? Every single factor is going to be addressed by the business research method, and achieving a competitive advantage. Definitely, you will be able to get an edge over the other. You will be able to make a difference over the other if you have researched very well about the nature and scope of your business. If you understand what are the parameters that I can win over my competitor. So in that sense, this is definitely something very, very fantastic and very, very important altogether. Now, the limitations that we are going to talk about is that time constraint. Yes, we don't have time all around to do this project, and availability of data might not be there every time. Reliability of data is also a question mark today, because can I trust the data? Is it available for me? Is it trustworthy? The cooperation of management. Somebody might feel that this is too tedious process. Why are we doing this? Our nature of job is to sell the product and not do research. We are not scientists. So sometimes the cooperation might not be there. The knowledge of research tool. Everybody is not knowledgeable enough or patient enough to learn about the research tools and start implementing it. So they might feel, sir, I'm not interested in this. I don't want to know about it. So this is also a very big challenge that happens in terms of your business research method. Now, the role of business in research is more from a decision-making tool, because it's very, very important in terms of making decision. It helps the management to plan properly and to make a better decision at any given point of time. So whatever information that is available will help the management to take correct decisions on time. That is more valuable. That is very much important. Every decision is directly a reflection which comes out of the planning from the management side, and it helps you to solve the problem. It helps you to bring in a control technique wherein you can control the process, you can control control the errors. So, you are able to bring in multiple facets of the business research method. So every time when a problem is being identified, we will try to bring in a solution for that. Also, we will try to control that entire situation so that the problem does not get repeated. With this, I come to the conclusion of the first session. I hope and believe that this session was highly informative, useful, and of a great resource to you. In the upcoming sessions, we are going to learn more about the applications of business research method in the modern corporate world. Until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.